uh, I guess we started our Memorial Day weekend early, but went out, was drinking, little house party, get together type of situation. Got on the subject of politics, which, they always say don't talk about politics and religion, but, the conversation started out talking about housing. And there were, several people there, various different backgrounds and whatnot. And the conversation started off where uh, one of the one of the women there, she is in education, and she was showing me a video that's being passed around of students that tore up a school. Like it's all on social media. They put it on their Snapchat or whatever social media platform they have. Tore up the school, and I'm gonna tie that back together with what this whole conversation is about because you know this is one of those boomers really fucked up the world, or at least American Western society. And the selfishness of the boomer generation. I mean, every time I have this conversation, it blows my mind how much they fuck shit up. And you know, like my whole thing is, it's like what I said when I talked about like the men and the women that want to play. Like I'm like, okay, you want to be leader. This is what they want to do things that create situations, right? But then complain about the downside of that situation. And that is boomers all day. So, in any event, um, the woman who showed me the video, she's been looking for work for quite some time and she can't find work, even though she's in education. She can't find work because the schools that she's been applying to are only basically hiring substitute teachers. And I'm like, oh yeah, as I've always been saying, nobody wants to pay. Nobody wants to pay anybody. They don't want salaried teachers. They don't want to deal with your pensions and retirement and all that other shit. They don't want to deal with that. I mean, they're doing the same shit in healthcare. Oh, here's a physician's assistant. Here's a nurse practitioner. No, we don't want to pay physicians, that type of money, and that's what you're starting to see. More and more physicians assistants in doctors' offices and in hospital associated offices, and less, board certified physicians. Everybody's trying to cut costs, right? And it just like it just gets to a point where you break the system, and it just blows my mind at how these boomers and these oligarchs, they go out here with all these Republican conservative talking points about personal responsibility, and at the end of the day they don't want to pay people. The current generation of millennials and zillennials, you know, we didn't grow up with the same situation, that the boomers, grew up with. And even the silent generation, subsidized housing, Levitt towns. I've talked about all this before. You look at those people, when they get married, they were getting married in their early 20s. Concepts that don't even exist anymore, like a starter home, doesn't even exist anymore. I was talking to Cap about, because he kept bringing up the whole starter home thing, and I was like, yeah, a lot of young people would be down with starter homes. You see, like how the living conditions of college students, people in their early 20s, they're just glad to not be living with their parents. You know what I mean? The people that engage in delayed gratification and go out the long route and, had a careers, yeah, they're the ones that want to get that, $500,000 home in the McMansion. Yeah, once they finish their law degree or their, whatever professional degree that they have. Yeah, that's playing the short ball, the long game versus the short game. But I'm saying, you know, that whole concept, it doesn't exist with the millennial and the zillennial generation of buying and purchasing starter homes. Actually, the millennials, they're out of that, because they've aged out of that. But the zillennials, like, that's not even an option for them. Even crunching the numbers and looking at the stagnant wages, even like I was talking to Cap and he was talking about, like, in the early 90s, if you were making $65,000 a year, and how rent was like $700 or something like that. Now rent is, $1,800 to $2,000. And nobody, I mean, all this, who was I talking to? I was talking to somebody else, and they were bitching about how their town that they live in is building all these they live in the suburbs, but the town is building all these multi-unit, what do you call these multi-unit, what do you call them damn things? Multi-unit apartments, condos, multi-unit housing. That's what I was trying to say. I'm sorry, it's the alcohol. But multi-unit housing instead of single-family homes, right? Because the suburbs, they have all these rules and township and everything because they want to keep it a suburb. This is the type of shit that white folks do, because white folks have always historically had the money and the resources, and they want to keep their neighborhoods nice, and they want to be manicured, and you can only live in the neighborhood if you have a certain amount of money, right? And then people dive into all these, pathologies that they want to point at when it comes to not just particular groups like black people, but just the way that they pathologize the poor, right? Not realizing that being poor is what creates the pathology, right? But over the decades, wages just have either been stagnant or they've declined. And what gets me about the Republicans, going back to the whole, you know, if you create a situation, accept what comes with it. But like I like one thing I cannot stand about conservatives is all this bullshit, with personal responsibility. The boomers, again, the whole model of housing is just broken. Okay, and this reminds me of Michael Rupert, who died, the guy that came up with the documentary Collapse, and the one that exposed the LAPD for selling narcotics in the black community. But he brought up the point about, economies are based off of infinite growth, and the housing market is based off of infinite growth. And during this conversation that I was having, one of the individuals pointed out, uh this whole notion about, we got to talking about housing, and I was saying that people need to be paid more money, and their argument was, well, no, that's not going to fix things, because right now we have this inflation, and you're talking about adding more money to the market, and adding more money to the market is only going to cause further inflation and causing prices to go up and all this other stuff. And I was like, look, I don't care how you do it, you got to make housing affordable. So either people get paid more money so that they can afford the housing, which I understood the point that he was making, because he is right about the adding more money to the, to the market, causes inflation and everybody just raises the prices of everything. But then on the flip side, and I said, I don't care how you do it. I don't care whether it's housing, and I don't even know how you would do this, right? The idea that of housing being fixed, fixed number. And I'm like, how do you adjust for that, right? Like certain properties are more desirable than others, like Malibu in California overlooking the Pacific Ocean or some shit like that. Or, a house that's like in the middle of nowhere, or, is further out from the hub of a city, right? Like those prices are not going to be the same. But this whole notion of, because, they brought up the point about equity in homes and everything. And there's always this a problem with black people when it comes to, housing, because that's like the only way that black people know how to generate wealth. Oh, you buy a home and you stay there for 30 years and the equity in the home rises, and then you're able to sell your home. First off, with all the shit that went on with redlining and the way that black people were discriminated in housing. First of all, your property values don't appreciate when you move to black communities, because white people control and define the housing market, right? Like white people don't want to move into black neighborhoods. White people want to be in exclusively white neighborhoods, and black people also want to be exclusively in white neighborhoods, because white neighborhoods are the only ones that fucking appreciate. So the whole thing is the racism baked in there and everything. So it's like, I'm already listening to the shit, saying to myself, you're only talking about white moving into white neighborhoods without even saying it, because those are only communities that fucking appreciate. So, the whole thing with the fixed housing, I said, look, I don't care how you get there. I don't care how you fucking get there. But there's a serious problem with it, like the way that the boomers are, like, because they're the ones that put all these fucking policies in place, right? We want single family homes. We don't want, multi-family housing units, and people who can't afford, because we want our neighborhoods to be a certain way and everything. I said, boomers been doing this shit, forever, right? And so now, like, it's like, number one, I always say to myself, I'm like, like, you've fucked over your children and your grandchildren so fucking much that they can't afford the fucking houses that you hope to cash out on one day. Like that's what's so retarded with the shit. I mean, even Cap, is pointing out, because we've talked about this extensively, like how even in Detroit, the neighborhoods that literally used to be filled with auto workers, men who worked at the UAW, neighborhoods that Cap grew up in. Okay, those people thought that they were going to be, the equity in the home is just going to rise, into infinity, and that we'll be able to sell the home and move to Florida and retire off of the proceeds, right? Which only means that future generations are paying for, these inflated housing prices so that old people can retire, right? But they find out that nobody can afford the home. So now all the homes where Cap used to live, now all those homes are full of single mothers. And they're all Section 8 houses. So they're renting out the properties via Section 8 in order to get some type of money, out of the home, since they can't sell the home. Right. So they're only being paid in fucking increments and shit. So, like, bottom line is, you have this whole boomer fucking generation that has the markets are as such. And we've never like had this type of shit, before, like that, just how broken the system is, which is going to lead to revolution. And that's, I mean, I'm going to dive into that in a minute, but because that was one of the overall points that I was making. But I'm like, you have this whole housing situation where people just think that the property values are just going to go up into infinity, and that the subsequent generations are going to pay for that. I asked this, I said this fucking over 10 years ago. I was like, this is not sustainable. This is not sustainable. I mean, there's houses right now that I know that were bought, at $350,000, and now they're worth $700,000. And I'm like, and again, I was at another, house. That was another house event, house party, nothing full of nothing but white people. And I'm sitting there arguing with these white conservatives. You know what I mean? And I'm like, and which one of your kids are going to be able to afford the house that you live in now? What type of wages would they have to make to live in the house that you're living in now? Oh man, you should have heard the fucking crickets. You know what I mean? I mean, the short-sightedness of it is just insane. Like the infinite growth of the fucking housing market. I'm like, it's not sustainable. What don't you get about that? Everybody's got this idea in their head. Oh, you buy a house and then you sit on it for 30 years, you raise a family, and then when you retire, you sell it for double what you paid for it. Meanwhile, nobody wants to pay anybody as it deindustrialize the fuck out of the country, ship jobs overseas, shit in China, shit in Shenzhen, shit in Mexico, jobs in Canada, you know what I mean? Like all the jobs overseas, right? Then you got all the young people bogged down with student loan debt. Look, I'm just going to say that the collapse is coming. It's coming, y'all. And then, oh God, and see, the thing is let me, I'm getting slightly off track, but I'm saying, and the part that kills me with these conservatives, especially these boomer white conservatives, God damn, I can't stand these motherfuckers, man. They'll get up on the microphone, Dave Ramsey and all these other fat fucks. They get up on the microphone and they start bitching and whining. Oh, young people, they're not getting married, and young people, and it's because of woke culture and all this other shit. They don't want to fucking pay people, right? Young people, the average age of getting married has gone up. It's like 29 for women, or 30 for women, and 31 for males. Where the boomer generation, they were getting married in their fucking 20s. What 20-year-olds right now that can get married? What 20-year-olds are women even interested in that can get married, that even have the resources to get married? And you got boomers out here doing nothing but talking shit. Talking shit. Don't want to pay anybody. Don't want to pay anybody. The average time that anybody stays at a job in the private sector is 3.7 years. You can Google that. And in the public sector, it's 6.8. So nobody's staying in a job for 30 years and getting a pension and all that shit, all the stability shit that the boomers fucking enjoyed. None of that is here for the millennials and the zillennials. All right. And so, going back to, this video clip of the kids tearing up the school and everything else like that, I'm like, what makes you like? Of course you're going to see shit like that. Where is the stability in the homes? And see, what makes me want to freaking punch these goddamn boomers in the face is all they're going to do is bring up Jesus and God and religion. And, oh, you need Christ on the bottom. That's what the problem is. All the Glenn Beck motherfuckers and shit like that. Because anytime they don't want to pay people, but they still want people to fall in line and behave, they're going to bring up fucking religion. This is why I say religion is a fucking joke. All y'all Christians, y'all keep wanting to defend the shit, but it's used as a weapon against you to get you to fall in line while they provide you with nothing. I mean, wouldn't that just be a beautiful thing to just not pay you anything at all, but you're going to go out here and be all angelic and act and behave and fall in line, but despite the fact that you can't even support your family. And then these people will bring up, oh, the divorce rates and people not getting married. The primary reason why people get divorced, and we know women are initiating 80% of divorces, is because of the fucking finances. Women are hypergamous. They all want to date up. They all want to be taken care of and provided for. Even when they run off and talk about being a feminist, strong, independent boss bitch and everything, these bitches still want to be fucking taken care of. So if you don't have men who are gainfully employed, right? And then let's just make it worse and just sprinkle OnlyFans on top of that, and let's sprinkle, all these women making $60,000 a month, fucking, showing their tiggly bits online and shit like that, which only further exacerbates men saying they're not wifey material and don't want to marry the women, and then the women saying I don't want to marry the men because I don't need to marry a man because what does he have to offer? I mean, just throwing the whole thing, the whole system on its head. The whole Western, Anglo-Saxon, European, Christian, Judeo-Christian framework on its head. Like, and this is what pisses me off about fucking conservative. I'm like, your whole system isn't even designed to support the very Christian beliefs that you say that you all subscribe to. The system doesn't even fucking support that. Because you don't want to pay anybody. Housing prices are fucking retarded. You know what I mean? You think it's all, they're just lazy and personal responsibility. All that bullshit. Again, telling young white men the same bullshit that you told young black men. Oh, it's because they're lazy and they don't want to work and da 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 da. No, black men were discriminated against because they're black, and it's a system of white supremacy and racism, and white men have that, idea of entitlement that they're always supposed to be ahead, but young white men are not getting that. And again, they don't want to take people's AR-15s away because of mass shootings. No. They want to take white people's AR-15s away because of the coming revolution. It's coming, people. It's fucking coming. Okay, black men, they've been discriminated against. They created a subculture, based off of being marginalized, and they have, their own yardsticks of hypermasculinity, everything, which is a double-edged sword. It has its own fucking set of problems, and it's not conducive to having a structured, environment. And when you're trying to get people to respect, people who are working and everything, we got all of these issues that we have to work through because, again, we've been excluded out of that mainstream fabric of American society, which is the getting the economic opportunity and basically being the breadwinner husband and doing all that. That's been white men's only fucking identity since forever. Okay, they're the dominant culture, so they don't have to have a subculture. So when you take the dominant culture away from them that allows them to even fucking be that and have that positive white male identity, they don't know where to go. They fall to fucking pieces, which is why you see them joining groups like Patriot Front and shooting up supermarkets like they did in Buffalo and believing in the Great Replacement and blaming all the other minorities for why they're struggling, because they're never going to look in the mirror and look at themselves and be like, oh shit, it's the motherfuckers who look like me. White men don't do that. That'll be the last step and all the bullshit that we're going to see in the next 5 to 10 years with all these militias and white supremacist groups and Viking groups and all of that. I mean, they're scrambling whether they want to be an oath keeper, whether they want to be a 3%er, whether they want to be on some Viking white nationalist shit. You know what I'm saying? Whether they want to be a patron of Red Ice or a follower of Jared Taylor and, American Renaissance, or run around with Richard Smith. They're all scrambling, looking for because you got to think about it. None of these white men are white men that are in a position where they're really kicking ass and they're stable and they got a wife and kids and they're living in the suburb and living in the big house. No, these are disaffected white men. And if they're not doing that, if they're not joining that shit, if they can't support those careers, then what you see is a whole bunch of the self-deletion, and you see a whole bunch of the, overdosing and engaging in narcotic drugs and everything. White people's shit right now for white men, it's all fucked up. It's all fucked up. When you really look at the numbers, it's fucked up. But see, you got so many of these people that are running around, just completely ignoring the shit. I'm like, it's coming. It's coming. Y'all motherfucking white boomers sitting around the oak desk. Y'all fucked it up. And see, a lot of them may not even care, because as far as they're concerned, they're not even going to be around. You know what I mean? But how many of them, stupid thing, I'm like, you're fucking over your own grandkids. Some of these motherfuckers got daughters that are not married and can't find anybody to fucking marry, or they got daughters that are single moms and shit. Yeah. And now here you are, the fucking white boomer raising your grandchild because your daughter's a single mom. Like, you dumb fuck. I mean, these oh my God. I mean, where is the white supremacy? You know what I'm saying? Like, not that I'm asking for white supremacy, but I'm just like, I never thought that they would fuck it up this bad. You know what I mean? Like, I knew that there was classism within the white community. I knew that, but it just really goes to show you how much the white supremacy aspect is really more of a facade, because the priority clearly is one of classism over, white supremacy, and racism. White supremacy and racism, is the facade. But yet and still the fucking the average white person, man, they still don't get it. They still think you got the white patriot front and all this other motherfucker. They still running around, see, the problem is black people breathing up all the white man's air. Not the fact that the white oligarchs took jobs overseas. Not the fact that, the white oligarchs and the white boomers, made it so that you can't afford, housing and shit like that. And they have all these policies and shit in place so that they won't develop new housing. They're not going to subsidize new housing because that would only bring down their property values. You see, they got it set up to where you're getting fucked, and you'll have these young white men running around, talking about, no, the problem is the niggas. I'm like, really? Like, the shit is just, it's retarded. And then, like, there was somebody else that was there, and they own, a whole bunch of hotels and shit like that. And I had to call them out, because, even going back to the video clip of the kids that tore up the fucking school, I'm sitting there and I'm like, Mr., I have, X amount of employees, and which one of your employees can afford a house? And I guarantee you that the majority of your employees have children themselves. And those children are growing up without stable foundations, which leads to what you see in the video, that was just shown of the kids tearing up the fucking high school. All of this is connected. Why am I the only one that's connecting this shit? What do you? That shit doesn't happen at the upper middle class schools. That shit only happens at what? The schools where the kids have broken homes, divorced parents, lack of financial stability. And man, I'm telling you, man, this shit is fucked up. And then college is a fucking joke at this point right now, because the return on investment is virtually non-existent. Oh, go to college and put yourself in fucking, $100,000 in debt, and then come out and then have, corporations that want to make you an at-will employee, like Amazon, can't unionize, no pensions. Oh, here's a shitty ass, 401k. Good luck. And again, we wonder why you have all these people that are millennials and zillennials and looking at work completely differently. Looking at it from the gig economy, looking at it from the standpoint of trying to figure out to do things online to make money. Because at least, let's face it. Like, and this is what's so fucked up about, like, all these boomers that want to talk about work. I'm like, even in the media, right? You got freaking 20-year-olds making stupid money on YouTube, making YouTube videos and content creators, all that shit. And the fucking boomers want young people to, go to work and value work and everything else. And they can't even put programs together on television to highlight, people living the American dream. Show me where somebody's, has that solid career, or that solid job, or even the vocational jobs that they desperately need and can live a decent lifestyle. I remember who was it? One of these YouTube channels, it was a woman, and she was breaking down how, like, even in, like, Friends and Sex in the City, like, how, like, it would, like, even that was impossible for them to be living like that, like to have living in a high rise and overlooking the city and everything. How much money that they would actually have to be making in order to live like that? So I mean, even some of the stuff is just completely, what's the word I'm looking for? Fallacious. It's just false. It's not even accurate. And the crazy thing is most Americans are not even that ambitious. Most of them, it's like, they'll go to work as long as they're being properly compensated. If they can, buy a home, decent home, raise their fucking kids, go on vacation, four times a year. You know what I mean? They're good. They're good. As long as they can do that, most of them are content and they're fucking happy. But I mean, if you just look at the shit, I mean, they're just sitting up here trying to whittle the American population down to fucking nothing. Nothing. To where it's like, forget being enjoyable. I don't argue that work and being enjoyable, but to the point where it's not even tolerable anymore. This is what they've done. And so, I mean, I just see it all. I'm like, you want to talk about the misbehaving youngsters that you see and that Fox News trying to think about. Fox News doesn't have any solutions. What's Fox News solution every fucking time they see kids misbehaving or doing some bad shit? It's never, let's talk about the economic. No, it's never that. It's never, let's talk about getting young men gainfully employed. And it's always, no, they're all lazy. They just don't want to work. And what they need is some Jesus. What they need is parents in the home. You're not going to have stable, intact homes. I don't care how much Jesus you sprinkle on it. You're not going to have intact patriarchal homes, if patriarchy is what you believe in, if you do not have young men who are gainfully employed. And then even when we go over to the fucking oligarchs, the white oligarchs that want to, have their military industrial complex, yeah, good luck getting a bunch of young white men to fight your fucking wars that you have with Russia or that you have with China while they're still bitchless, while they're still unemployed and underemployed, and they have nothing to fucking fight for. They own no property. They have nothing. Good luck with that shit. I mean, I've never seen such a royal fuck up in my entire life. When you really just sit back and you look at the shit. And these are supposed to be, these are white men. These are the supreme racial group. These are the people that know it all. They have crystal balls. They see into the future, and they're over there playing wizard chess. This is what you call wizard chess? This is what you call the system of white supremacy? I mean, I can't imagine a greater royal fuck up. This is why I said, I'm like, white supremacy literally only fucking thinks until the end of next week. Literally. Why do you think every fucking year we keep having this debt ceiling bullshit? Every fucking debt ceiling. Oh, we're gonna sit on it. We're gonna let the post office shut down. Every fucking year they have this fucking conversation. Debt ceiling. It's the debt ceiling. They don't plan shit. They don't plan shit out. And in my opinion, shit's just gonna get worse and worse and worse. Because see, the thing is like, when people are eating, when people are doing good, and people are comfortable, life is going with the way that they want it. Like most people, there's a lot of shit that they just don't care about because they're like, hey, I'm good. I ain't got time to worry about that. Gay people want to get married, whatever. I don't care. I ain't got time to worry about that. You know what I mean? Like they don't focus on shit. They're not focused. They're not hyper focused on race. I'm not saying they don't think about it and bitch about it and say whatever they think and feel. And you got the talking heads running around. But when people are working and they're gainfully employed and they can plan shit out and they can do things, they don't get caught up in the bullshit. But, just like with COVID and everybody staying at home and money is tight and they're not able to do the things that's when people start, like they say, the fucking, idle hands are the work of the devil. That's when you start seeing all this shit, militias, all these subversive groups, the extremism online, then all that shit. That's where you start seeing all that shit. The biggest threat to this country are unemployed and underemployed young white men. Because again, they have the greatest sense of entitlement. They don't know how to do poverty. They don't know how to do broke. They don't. For a long time, there's always been the hope that, they can go out there and, that they'll never be not where the blacks are. They'll never be down there. They'll never be where the Mexicans are. Well, guess what? That's changing. And that's why they're running around, flipping out, committing mass shootings and freaking blaming all other groups and shit. That's why they're freaking out. Because they're losing their position. They're slipping. So that's the biggest threat to this country. When people talk about, white supremacy is the biggest. Yes, it's the biggest threat to this country. And people need to, maybe they should give it a different term other than white supremacy. I mean, it is white supremacy. It's a bunch of young white men who think that they should always and perpetually, be on top. But really, real talk, this isn't even about being on top. This is about, people being able to make it. If you work and you put in the hard work and all the other stuff that there's like a minimum that you should be able to make it. Not just people running around, no, it's about working smarter and not working harder. You see, like that whole go out here and work hard, that shit is dead. That trope that if you go out here and you work hard and that shit is dead. I mean, even the corporate ladder no longer exists. They bring in people horizontally into positions. There is no I came in and I worked, at the bottom and I moved all the way up to the top. I know somebody who became a CEO of a company and they started at the very bottom as a bicycle repair person and they moved up. They're old now. Like they're in their 70s. You know what I mean? But they came, that's where they came in at. You see that? When the last time you heard some shit like that? You know what I mean? We started at the bottom, now we here. No, it doesn't work like that. There's again the illusion of the the meritocracy. But I mean, I'm blown away. I'm blown away at the boomers and the oligarchs, and I'm also just blown away at people who really don't get it. People who are right now, they got that government job or they're really secure where they are. Yeah, they the economy, interest rates, inflation. They're feeling the pinch a little bit, but they're not struggling. They're not starving. They're not going without. You know what I mean? But they and even still, like their math isn't mathing. You know what I mean? People talking shit whose parents paid for their undergraduate and they're sitting there talking about, I don't see why if somebody can afford $2,000, then they can purchase $120,000 house. They're able to purchase it. Yeah, first off, what type of money are they making? That's the first thing. Couldn't get them to acknowledge that. And then the second thing, and do they have student loan debt? I mean, you start walking through the whole thing, and not only that, this is coming from a person who literally moved back in with their parents in order to save enough money for the down payment on the home that they currently live in. I'm like, oh my God, do you not realize that some people don't have parents to move back in with in order to save money like that? Again, the support systems and the foundations not being there. I mean, it's insane. And see, the thing is, again, divorce rates, single mother households, split households, all of those people are at a strategic disadvantage. And we have more of that than we had in the fucking 50s. So that's even more people who don't have, that sort of foundation. Now you're seeing more white people that don't have that. And What else was I going to say there's something else it just slipped my mind. Something else I was going to say about the oh yeah the the whole single motherhood explosion. And again, as I keep saying numerous times, you're having and I'm taking this directly from Karen Strawn, which is Girl Rights Water. She used to call herself Girl Rights Drug, but when she made that point about you have more women taking, I believe it was her taking, you have more women taking money out of the system than you have productive men putting money into the system. You are going to have a societal collapse. And the crazy thing is these fucking white boomers, I mean, they like their heads are so far up their fucking asses that they don't even they're not even concentrating on the fact that this is what is going on. Like, just like when we talk about, failing boys. Oh, failing black boys. Oh, nobody gives a shit. But now you got failing white boys. Now you got lopsided numbers when it comes to fucking colleges and shit. Now you got fucking 60-40 ratios of male to female to male, student ratios. And you got women that I only want to date up. Just the absolute fucking themselves that the boomers and the fucking oligarchs have. It's just insane. And the only thing that they have to do is throw up empty platitudes about personal responsibility and hard work. And the problem is people are too woke, and the liberal colleges and universities, all these talking heads, all this Fox News bullshit. And these are the same people when we say, hey, young people need affordable housing to freaking, start families and do it the conservative Christian way that y'all talk about. Oh, no, fuck that shit. That'll bring my property values down. Hell no, we don't want to create subsidized housing for young people. Meanwhile, have you seen these freaking these 55 and up retirement communities? Where they got these 3-bedroom, single level ranchers and shit like that. And they build and those houses are going for like $250. You seen that shit? It's wild, the ass backwardsness. And I'm like, okay. I'm like, get ready for the upside down triangle, because it's coming. What's the upside down triangle? The demographic upside down triangle, like Japan and fucking Korea, where you have fewer, and even China, you have people having fewer children, and the majority of the population are fucking senior citizens. So it's an upside down pyramid. And that's just going to cause further stagnation in the freaking economy, because, again, young people are the ones that are the most productive in the economy. Young people are the ones that have to do all the purchasing, and, they're trying to, advance, and they buy new cars, and they freaking, purchase homes, and freaking, all the toys, and all the just everything, the playgrounds in the backyard, for the kids. I mean, this is like a whole thing. The sporting events, the junior league baseball games. I mean, this is a whole stimulation because these are the people that are active, that are going outside, all that shit. These are the people that are purchasing stuff. And don't even get me started on, Amazon just destroying the malls of America. I mean, it's just, oh God, sometimes I'm just like, it's like you fail to appreciate, how good the 90s was, how simplistic the 90s, seemed to be, compared to now. It's fucked up. And honestly, this problem isn't going to be corrected. They're not going to correct this problem. I promise you that. And the thing is like the boomers, like they got one foot in the grave. And so when it comes to, the millennials, first off, another argument that was had during this conversation, millennials are the ones that are running the country. I'm like, millennials are not running the country. If millennials are running the country, then millennials wouldn't be the ones that are struggling with the whole housing crisis. I'm like, how many millennials are in Congress or in freaking the Senate? How many millennial presidents have we had? You see what I'm saying? Like, I'm like, where are we running? Where are we running shit? It's really, and I'm saying, you know, it's the boomers and how they vote, and it's the Gen Xers because they're the ones that are, running around, that are the executive, leaders, the people that are now, in their 50s and their 60s. These are the ones that are making a lot of the chief decisions. You know what I mean? But it's definitely not millennials, and we already know it's not zillennials. But what's going to happen when the millennials, get in that position? Is there going to be a restructuring of society? I don't know. I mean, but you already see how a lot of the millennials and even the zillennials, they are leaning more towards, socialist ideas because the capitalist system is broken. It's too polarized. It's too economically polarized. Where you got small amounts of people hoarding all the fucking wealth. Of course they're going to be liberal. Of course they're not going to be, pro capitalism or pro the shit that the conservatives are talking about, which again is no fucking solution. And I'm not even saying that the left, has a solution. Some of their shit is absolutely goofy. You know what I mean? But in the end, I'm like, of course they're going to be leaning in that direction because, again, in my opinion, the conservatives broke the system. They just broke it. I mean, show. I mean, despite the conservatives claiming themselves to be the party of Jesus and the party of religion and all that other stuff, show me anywhere where conservatives present anything that has any amount of compassion to it. Show me. Show it to me. Abortion. Pro-life, again, even that's a crock of shit because they'll sit there and they'll argue and fight for the kids to be born and the kids to be here. But then as soon as you start talking about provisions and things that the kids need and after school programs, they're the first ones to want to cut it. So spare me on that one. Oh yes, we want the children to be here, but then once the children are here, fuck them. I mean, where is this? Where is this where is any of the idea of like, hey, damn, we really need to, facilitate young people, taking the reins and having the torch passed to them. It's just crazy. All they do is mock. And that's another thing. Again, going back to what I said about, white folks that fucked up the black community with redlining, blockbusting, Jim Crow, eminent domain, urban renewal, convict leasing, COINTELPRO, assassination of black leaders, purging of black communities, right? Dumping drugs in the black community with the CIA Contras, Richard Aoki and the FBI, right? As an informant to undermine the Panthers. Murdering Fred Hampton, murdering, of Medgar Evers, murdering, sending, Marcus Garvey back to Jamaica, assassinating Malcolm X and Martin Luther King, all this bullshit, right? And then the black community's all fucked up, running highways through our community. You know what I mean? And then sit there and talk about niggas in the ghetto and how they shooting each other. I'm like, you all did everything in your power to fuck up the black community. Shut the fuck up. And the same thing applies to the boomers. I'm like, you did everything to screw over your kids and your grandkids, and you're bitching about, oh, my son's not getting married, my daughter's not married, they still live with me and this, that, and did everything in their fucking power to make it to where they literally have like 99% of the fucking wealth, and they're actually bitching about what young people are and aren't doing. Like, just shut the fuck up. Just shut up. Yeah, you're screwing people over. You fucked them over. Everything. Shut up. Just shut up about it. But nah, they gotta come through and talk they shit and pretend like they didn't. Which only further pisses people off. Again, I know freaking Undead Chronic, he's on his racial bigotry shit. But that video that he did, about Dave Ramsey, that video is awesome. And not only that, it embodies the sentiment of white males out there. It embodies the sentiment. You know, I'm like, I've shared that Undead Chronic Dave Ramsey video so many times to so many people to point out. I'm like, y'all really fucking up. I'm like, y'all are really fucking up. I'm like, to have this many unemployed, underemployed young men who are bitchless, sexless, not in relationships, and you're in a country with that just has, open markets when it comes to, purchasing AR-15s, and you have open communication online with extremist groups and extremists. I'm like, you all gotta be the biggest dumbasses in the fucking world. I mean, just the biggest dumbasses. And when you listen to these boomers, when you listen to them, just any number, just go on YouTube, any number of videos where any of these motherfuckers are like 60 years and older and they're fucking talking about what they think the problem. They're so off and they're so clueless. It's insane. It's insane. You know what I mean? And only people that even remotely come close are the ones that are talking about, young men and their dating prospects and marriage and all that other shit. They come close, but they still got to play around and be politically correct, for it to be digestible, because, the cast of The View will come for them if they, say anything that even sounds remotely misogynistic or sexist or some bullshit like that. I'm like, okay. I'm like, it just blows my mind. I'm like, y'all have really fucked this, fucked up America. I mean, completely fucked it up. And as an African American, it's weird for me. It's weird me saying it. I just didn't think that they would break the system this much. You know what I mean? Like, we can talk about, racial, whatever, racial reckoning and, correcting like the harm, that was done to African Americans, whether it's reparations or black people being tax exempt or free college or whatever. We can have that discussion, because black people are definitely owed, and black people should definitely be the first ones to want to see the system fail. But at the same time, I'm like, we're on the same ship. You know what I'm saying? Like we're on the same boat. So it's like, do you really want this boat to sink because you're on it? You know what I'm saying? Do you really want it to sink, or do you want some concessions to be made? Me, I want some concessions to be made. Don't necessarily want the boat to sink. But man, these white oligarchs, I mean, they're going to make, and not only that, the boat sinking with us on it, right? Again, who do you think is going to be, again, if there was a revolution or let's say the Patriot Front explodes, and let's say all these organizations, all these people that have these white supremacist ideas where, they believe that the reason why I haven't been able to get my life started as a young man is because of black people and their flared African nostrils and breathing up all the white man's air. Who do you think they're going to fucking come for first when it comes to, the final solution? Who do you think they're going to target? Again, we've already been targeted. You go over there to the freaking FBI statistics, and black people are at the top of the victims of hate crimes. It's not Asians. It's not Jewish people. It's not the LGBTQ. It's black people. That's who's at the fucking top of the list. So when I express my concerns about this, it's also expressing a concern about African Americans, because as shit gets worse, as you have more disgruntled, entitled white men, guess who they're going to be targeting? Guess who they're going to be blaming? You know what I mean? And especially all you black men out here that think that, I'm going to go out here and swirl and have Becky on my arm. Oh, you going to be prime fucking target. Because even if you are able to come up with some way to make money out of this fucking system, the last thing that a white man who has been unable to get his life started wants to see, and he's trying to find his white male identity through all these other white supremacist groups and Viking groups and white male masculinity groups and oath keepers and freaking 3%ers and all this other shit. Last thing he wants to see is you walking around with Becky on your arm. And again, it goes back to what Tone Talks used to talk about with the decadent veil, which is the fact that, you turn on television, you would think that there's way more interracial. Black men are dating white women at like 8 to 9. What is it? Like 10% of black men. Mind you, we're the smaller group, right? So it's 10% of black men that are dating white women. It's not 10% of the white of the white community. It's not 10% of white women dating black men. Because remember, white people outnumber black people 5-1. But it's like 23% of black men are dating outside or married outside the race or whatever it is. But if you turn on television, again, that decadent veil, it's the Kardashians and all of them with the exception of Courtney, all are with black men, right? Or is one of the little twin sisters? I don't know who she's with, but I'm just saying, you keep seeing them with black men. Then on top of that, you got Barack Obama, who was president for 8 years. So all these, if you notice, all these white kids that are shooting up this place, they're all in their early 20s. So they grew up seeing nothing but Barack Obama, a quote unquote black man, even though he's biracial, as president of the United States. So to them, when people talk about racism and white supremacy, they're like, what are you talking about? These black people are just out here making shit up. We've had I voted for Obama, even though they weren't old enough to vote for Obama, but just all that bullshit. You see what I'm saying? And again, freaking Donald Trump was just the backlash to that shit. But because the economics are not right, for your average run of the mill white men, you know what I mean? They're running around not only trying to find identities for their masculinity, they're running around scrambling, trying to find somebody to fucking blame. And I'm telling you, we are at the front of that line when it comes to somebody to blame. You see, now right now the LGBT community, they're fucking retarded because they don't know how to leave the children alone. So right now the white supremacists, they're all focused on that shit. But as soon as they're done with that shit, guess who they're going to be looking at? They're going to be looking at us, and they're going to be looking at Jewish people. Because it's never the people that are in positions of power who look like them and have been calling the shots that they're ever going to fucking blame. They all have this hope that, it could work. They all have this hope that somehow, the hand of the white oligarchs will reach down and pull them up just off of the strength of their whiteness. They really believe that. They don't believe in class, that there's a white class. They think that them and Donald Trump are boys. Okay? And again, like I said, white people have always had extreme classism. Their whole system has been based off it. Kings, queens, nobles, and peasants. Peasants. You know what I'm saying? The freaking America was founded on rebellious peasants. You see, Australia was a penal colony. Again, going back to, the fucking, you damn right, the British royal family got a problem with Harry, Mary, and Meghan Markle. Not only did you marry a peasant, you married a woman that's half black. Man, fuck that shit. You did. He's disrupting the whole goddamn thing. But yet, your freaking average run of the mill white American male thinks that, he's a part of that. He's connected to that just off of the strength of whiteness. Okay, you gotta recognize, as black people, you gotta recognize white people's pathology. You gotta recognize your life depends on it. Okay, you black people should always be fucking prepared. But a lot of us are too caught up with all the nigga shit in the ghetto and survival mode and clout chasing and trying to one up the other nigga standing next to us and all this other shit when none of that really matters in the grand scheme of things. It's what I was saying about Africa being too tribal and whatnot. And Africans like, I'm better than the Yoruba. I'm better than the Igbo and shit. Like as though freaking anybody else gives a fuck about that. All they see is niggas. Malcolm X already addressed that. He's like, when the Klan comes to your house, they don't ask you whether you're, a Baptist. They don't ask you whether you're Catholic. They don't ask you whether you're a Muslim. They're there because you're black. And Africans they haven't sorted that out yet. They still running around on some stupid tribal shit like anybody else gives a fuck. Why do you think that when they refer to Africa and when we have these conversations about Egypt, right, completely ignoring the whole Younger Dryas period and the fact that the 7,000 years ago, the Sahara didn't even exist like that. But why do you think they draw that line and refer to it as sub-Saharan Africa? While people running around talking about, I'm from the Dinka tribe, I'm a Hutu, I'm a Tutsi, I'm a Yoruba, I'm a Igbo. Like they give a fuck. No, all of you are sub-Saharan Africans. That's how they view this shit. That's what, again, going back to why I said y'all need to sit this one out, because y'all don't know what you're talking about, because you don't deal with white supremacy on a day-to-day basis. We do. We know what we're talking about. We know what global white supremacy is trying to establish, but y'all don't get it. But again, this is a different conversation where we're talking about the classism within the system of white supremacy, which has become so extreme, it threatens to undermine white supremacy itself, which arguably from the black perspective should be a good thing. It might be a good thing for Africa. We don't know. But for us African Americans that are sitting on the same goddamn boat, we're like, oh, hold on now. We trying to figure this shit out, what we going to do. Because that's going to do is put us in a compromised position. Because as the shit gets worse and worse for white people, you know what I mean? As they start, it's just like at the end of fucking Queen, when who was that brother, Oliver or something, whatever that brother's name, Oliver Davis, what was that brother's name that was on the Bill Cosby show? Like he tried to tell Halle Berry's character Queen, he's just like, hey, the war is over now. You better understand, you should come with us, because these white folks, they're gonna start sticking together like glue. And as she found out when she went and talked to whoever it was that at the end of the movie, I think it was part 2 or part 3? I forget what part it was. They used to have the whole series on YouTube. But anyway, where that old white lady told her, she was like, I'm your people. I'm your people. And she was like, no, you not our people. Because she was still stuck on who her daddy was. And she was like, no, you are not our people. And then she walked away. Because she didn't get it. Again, that's the story of the tragic mulatto. You know what I mean? But that's what's going to happen. White people are going to start circling the wagons. That's what you're seeing with all the, if you look at the news, again, the conservatives will be like, no, they're making it up. And these white supremacists, they're not real. Patriot Front is not real. These are the feds and this is organization. I've been following Patriot Front for a long time. I mean, again, a lot of their shit is so open, it's retarded. Even going back to the days of looking at Stormfront. These folks are out here. They've been out here. This ain't nothing new. And then again, combined with the other anti-government folks, the Timothy McVeighs and the fucking, the Waco, Texas shit and Ruby Ridge and all that, and the freaking the post, Vietnam anti-government folks. So you got them, mixed in with the white supremacists, and now they're going to be mixed in with the disgruntled white men that can't get their life started. And that's where you start getting into the great replacement and all that other bullshit. Okay? And then you got governors like DeSantis down there in Florida, with all his bullshit. The NAACP done put out a advisory about, black people in Florida. Because these sentiments, they're seen as, or these policies or whatever you want to call it that are put in place, that's seen, that empowers people and emboldens people to feel like they can do whatever the fuck they want to do to you. So again, I'm like, y'all need to recognize. I know black people went out and bought a lot of firearms to fucking, to defend themselves, not just externally, from white supremacists, but also internally. But the thing is, I don't think black people are really recognizing just how bad things are about to get. I don't think they really truly recognize that shit. You got too many unemployed and underemployed white men who could not purchase homes, who could not start families. So now they're out here and they're preoccupied with us. And or eventually will come around to us. It just depends on who's making more noise. Whenever there's a terrorist attack, notice how white folks stop talking about niggas, right? They start being on their anti-Muslim shit. COVID happened, they started talking about the Asian people, right? So and then the Jewish people, that they always have a simmering contempt for them in the background. You know what I mean? But anytime, there's a crime and a black person goes and, robs, even though every other day it's black on black violence and you black people do it to yourselves. As soon as a black person, go out and do something against a white person off of, it being an economic crime, here comes the white people. Why isn't this a hate crime? Right? They're all in the comments like, why isn't this a hate crime? Right? And they go crazy and then nigga this, nigga that. They all in the comment section losing their minds. So it just depends on like what the current event situation is, that determines, how much they're going to go in on black people. But I'm just saying, the worse economically it gets for them, the more that you're going to see shit like Buffalo. I mean, you really got to think about what was going through that young man's mind. Even fucking the AME church. You know what I mean? What was going through, that white boy's mind. You know what I'm saying? These guys didn't even crack 25 years old. You get what I'm saying? Like they were born in like the early 2000s and shit. They don't even remember 9/11. And they got all this anger and all this hate in their heart. Some of them coming from middle class, backgrounds and shit like that, but feeling like there's no hope, like that we're losing our position and all that shit. See, I don't, again, like y'all, see, I don't ignore that type of anger. You know what I mean? I don't just blindly, that's just nothing. You know what I'm saying? It's just like fucking 9/11 and shit. Like how, like I always used to say, with the way that the white folks will be like, oh, they hate us because they hate our freedom. I'm like, you need to look more into that. Because 19 guys with box cutters just don't hop on a plane because they hate your fucking freedom. You need to figure out why the fuck they felt that, to do some shit like that. And so again, you see that type of anger, them dude going in there shooting up a church full of old black women, or shooting up a supermarket full of old black people with bad arthritic knees that can't even get away. You better pay attention to that type of anger and that type of hate, as opposed to just walking around. Again, black people in New York, y'all like, oh, we got to vote for Governor Hochul. Oh, yeah, we're not voting Republican. Yeah. And then they create all these fucking gun laws so that you out there with nothing but your ass. You know what I'm saying? Like black Democrats can't win an election without black people, and black people talking about reparations for slavery. You talk about reparations for slavery coming from the Democratic Party when you, as black people, being the top of the chart when it comes to being victims of hate crimes on the FBI statistic chart. You can't even get Democrats to take gun control off the table, and they can't win elections without you. And you're the target of the vast majority of hate crimes in America. So we got our own retardedness going on, where you get these black people that just out here with stupid shit. Oh, white Jesus is going to protect me, and I'm a good Christian, and I don't believe in guns, and just dumb. Don't even get me started on our own stupidity as black people. All this anger, all the Patriot Front marching through Philadelphia, marching on the Capitol. I mean, it's like every other month they got a new march that they're fucking doing. And black people out here, we need gun control. That's what we need. We need some gun control. And you're going to be out here with nothing but your ass. I'm not trying to have a sword fight. I'm not trying to have a knife fight. I'm not trying to have a baseball fight. You know what I'm saying? I'm dumping. I'm dumping until the slide locks back. I don't play that shit. And neither should you. But y'all want to be out here in a nation that has a history of violence against us. Y'all want to be out here, with nothing but your ass and trust, that the very police that you say are racist are going to come protect you. The fuck? The white people outnumber black people 5-1. If they wanted to purge us, they could. And right now, we got no real fucking protections. And y'all want to sit there and we're going to leave it up to the government. The government going to protect us. The same government that fucking put you in chains. The same government that did nothing to protect your communities when they were being burnt down. The same government that facilitated discrimination against you when it came to redlining and denial of FHA loans. The same government that spied on you and put people like Richard Aoki there and had COINTELPRO. The same government that dumped drugs into your fucking communities, right? This is the same government now, the same government that came up with the 1994 crime bill and had crack cocaine disparity. The same government is going to come through and protect your black ass. Y'all stupid. I mean, plain and simple, y'all stupid. But again, and I'm going to end off on this video, but again, the worse it gets, the more you're going to see anger, hatred, and animosity directed at us. I'm telling you. I'm bringing all of it together and putting it together for y'all to really understand. But I'm still I'm going to continuously just be blown away at just how much these white boomers and oligarchs have fucked it up. I'm like, wow, I really didn't think that you would do it. I really didn't think that you would smash the glass and hit the red button. But they did. I mean, they totally have. And again, that's why they want to take everybody's guns away. Not even for purposes of gun control because of inner city black on black violence or because of mass shootings. No, because they got a fucking revolution coming. And before the revolution comes, you know what you're gonna have? Friggin', domestic terrorism. And it's already happening. You seen this shit with the, white supremacist groups shooting power grids in where is it, Maryland or North Carolina, whatever the fuck it is on the East Coast. They shooting the damn power grids and stuff like that. I mean, y'all need to pay attention. It's all, you just got to know where to look. You see how they're moving and whatnot. Again, Donald Trump want to go up there and talk about black identity extremists, but yet we still can't name, this whole situation, with, the white supremacy groups. And I don't want to just label it white supremacy because it's more to it than that. The white supremacy, it's there, it's baked in there. I'm not saying that it's not, but what's in there is, again, white men feeling like they're losing their place. The economy's not good. The whole attack on masculinity that has affected all men in Western society because it has. But again, white men don't know how to do anything other than to be the traditional breadwinning, providing, husband. They don't know how to be anything else. And I'm not saying that black men particularly know how to be anything else, but I'm saying, we have decades due to marginalization of coping mechanisms and all that other stuff. That's why anytime we have conversations about money, whether it's Kevin Samuels talking to young men or even myself, motherfuckers always want to jump up and talk about I serve the Most High and we got all these coping mechanisms to ignore the money. White men are not as quick to ignore money like that. Run around the internet and show me the videos of white men talking about it's not about the money. It ain't about the money. I serve the Most High. Show me videos of white men talking about I serve Jesus or something like that, and trying to dodge the financial obligations and duties of what it is to be a white male. You won't find that shit. You will not find that shit like you will with black men. Black men, mental gymnastics like a motherfucker anytime we bring up money and finances, because we've adjusted to, this subordinate position. And this is one of the areas where, I would have to say that when black women file that complaint, they're right. It's like, okay, motherfucker, if you've adjusted to the subordinate position, then who are you to demand submission? Who are you to demand, to get with your program? You don't have a program. You serve the Most High. You have no power. You have no influence. You can't protect yourself, and you damn sure can't protect me. You see how that works? Again, like I said, that's what happens when you accept the bitch ass position. You got to accept what comes with the bitch ass position. You can't complain about it unless you're willing to fight for what you feel you deserve. That's just how the shit works. But anyway, that's enough of my stream of consciousness for today. But I don't know, maybe I shouldn't be making videos when I have, a little social lubricant up in my system. But which it should have wore off by now. I'm over an hour making this video. 75 minutes, that's a grip. But this is what I see out here in this world, man. This is what I'm seeing. So anyway, that's all I got to say. That's my video, SWP out. Don't forget to comment, share, like, and subscribe. SWP out.